Hello, this is Tim, and this is my video on the CIDS431 final project. For the final project, I chose to do the turnkey project, where it was a program where you put a video in an S3 bucket, and that video then gets pushed to a Lambda function through um, to like an event notification from the S3 bucket, and it is processed and sent to transcribe to get a transcript from what is said in the video. And then it goes back to the Lambda and then goes to Amazon Bedrock, which then generates quiz questions based off that video or that transcript, and then gets sent back to an S3 bucket for someone to use. So in order to do this project first, that is the wrong tab. I'm sorry about that. In order to do that, you would go to the GitHub for the um from turnkey corrections for the project they set up for you. And then you would fork that project. So you fork it here and then fork it, and you'd have a copy of it in your own repository, the forked version. And as you can see right here, this is the one I forked from turnkey corrections. And then after that, you would open up your IDE of choice. I chose VS Code to do this project in, and depending on the IDE you use, you might have to set it up. So for VS Code, I had to set up the GitHub extension and allow it to enable like clone a repo and do the version control there, like with pushes, pulls, and then commits and stuff like that. Luckily, I set that up long ago for another project of mine, so I didn't have to worry about it this time. But if you using an IDE you haven't set up with VS or GitHub, you're gonna need to set it up. After that, you can go back to the GitHub and you can just kind of review what the project's about, and then they have steps in order what you do. So in their code base, you have to do the Lambda handler, so the Lambda function itself, and then you have to do the CDK stacks, which, yeah, get as you an example you should get out of it. Another thing is check the prerequisites, so making sure you have like Java, Maven, Node, CDK, and AWS installed as well on your local device. And then it tells you right here how to test it or how to install it if you need to. Oh yeah, for testing, you want to download the sample video as well, just to you can test and you use it when you actually make the final product. You don't have your AWS credentials set up, you can set those up. Those are already set up for me though, since I did this, since I've been doing the labs in AWS and all that, and using the command line. Next, so first thing you really want to do in the code base is go to cdk.json down here and add your student name like it says. So when you're running, so when you deploy via CDK, it knows which account to go to and who's going to use the resources. Yeah, and after that, you pretty much just run the code or practice, write the code inside the code base. So you see, write the code. So first I wrote the code in the video handler where you just, um, the steps are down here. You call transcribe, you call um, Bedrock, and then you build up the quiz object from the JSON Bedrock gives back, and then write the quiz back to S3. So, you go. Next, you can do that one's given to you. Do the stack, which pretty much creates the resources that CDK that the project needs for USCDK and gives permissions to each device. I did have an issue here where my permissions were not working properly, so it wouldn't allow me to, or wouldn't allow the Lambda to access the S3 bucket. I guess the way I was doing it before did not work, and I eventually found doing it like this to access the S3 bucket works is a good way to make it properly connect to each other. Then yeah. Then after that, when you write the code and you're trying to look for bugs, um, good thing to do is use their test class. So another big step would be running Maven test. This can take a little bit of time sometimes. You can see it's gonna kind of set everything up quickly. Does this every time. Sometimes it takes longer in the first few. Since I've done it a bunch, shouldn't be setting up as much. But it's pretty much using the test class here. And as you can see, it runs the tests, which are just a few sample videos it creates. And then it gives you an output saying of the Lambda event and stuff. And that everything in the Lambda worked just fine and it ran properly. So after that, you are ready to try out deploying it. So deploy it, you run a couple commands. You can run this one file to test the packages and step you take in deploying it. If you've never used CDK on your device before, you need to run CDK Bootstrap. These are ones you can run just to like see what the CDK is creating for testing. It's not always necessary, but good to look in case there's a problem. After that, you can run Maven package and CDK deploy together. Package will turn the necessary files into a jar file, and then deploys it to AWS with CDK. Now, a big issue I had with this project, like others had, was the the jar file being way too big for the AWS to accept. Was created in CDK. And I tried at first to fix it through when we create the Lambda, when we're building it, saying like exclude certain types of files under the construction. That did not work. The IDE and just the program kind of rejected it, saying generated a ton of bug. It just rejected it, saying it doesn't work. And then the list of file types to exclude just weren't compatible. So the exclude method when building the video handler just did not work for me. So instead, I went to the POM XML and I pretty much just excluded every file type I could think of, and through research, every file type that a Lambda does not need in order to run a project. So this is probably a little bit overkill for this project. Probably not all these file types are relevant. I just did every single one to make absolutely sure all of the files, no unnecessary files are included in the package. Make sure it ran properly. And then after that, we ran from package CDK deploy. I'm on a Windows device, so the two ands you saw in the repo do not work. You need to use a semi. I needed to use a semicolon. So yeah. But after you deploy it, you should see product show up here. So you can see the video handler that was on VS Code locally is now on AWS through CDK. I also have a bucket, and I have two buckets for this project actually, one for inputting videos and another for outputting quiz JSON. I did that in order to make sure there wasn't any recursive issues with the Lambda, since the Lambda is triggered on a file being added to it. So I put the quiz output in a different bucket to make sure that doesn't happen. I also added functionality to the code to make sure that only video files are processed. And since the output that would be sent back to the next 3 buckets of JSON, it should reject it. But just to make sure I put it in a different bucket altogether. Just kind of multiple ways to make sure that doesn't happen and you're not wasting resources and money, etc. Yeah, and after that, I did test it out. I put a video file. This also isn't an MP4. I used the movie file. This is a video I took on my iPhone for a final project presentation for physical computing. And it's pretty much about a device I made that's a thermometer with a fan, variable speed, and just kind of looked over that. It's shorter. I use it as a sample just for easier testing, less resources and money expended and stuff like that. And yeah, and it worked. I have a quiz JSON file right here, and there's a quiz JSON outputted here and an example. It's a shorter video, so there's not many questions involved, but generated a few questions for the project. And then, and pretty much that's about it. I learned a lot about this in this project, how powerful CDK is, how useful it is to test projects with the Maven test class and stuff like that. And it was fun to be able to try to use Bedrock and stuff like that. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video, and thanks for your time, and have a good day.